talking about exponents. This is going to be a very introductory video on exponents, talking about expanded form, exponential form, how to do repeated multiplication with exponents. So it's a very basic type of concept. Further down the line, we will be talking about exponential law, scientific notation, so keep an eye out for that. But if you're just starting out with exponents and not really sure how they work, this is going to be the video for you. Or if you're just trying to review some of the basics, like what the base in an exponent is versus the exponent, all that, it'll be very helpful. So enjoy it. Hopefully you find it helpful. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting. All that will be very helpful for me. Thank you. All right, let's take a look. So the first one here wants us to write each expression in exponential form. So what we're going to have is our base, all right, that's our larger number on the bottom. It's basically the number that's being repeated. And then we're going to have our exponent, all right, that's how many times this number is repeated with the multiplication. All right, so we can see that 10 is repeated, so 10 is going to go here. How many times is it repeated? 1, 2, 3, 4. So our answer is 10 to the 4th power. The other thing you can notice about powers of 10, or where a base is 10, is that when we multiply this all out, this top number here, this exponent, tells us how many zeros are going to follow. All right, so that ties into our scientific notation, which we'll do in another lesson. And then 7 was our base here. And just because we're using this floating dot as multiplication does not change anything. And we see that the 7 is repeated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 7 to the 6th power. Another thing that we should note is that when we do 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, that it is not 42. Okay, this is not saying 7 times 6, so keep that in mind as a student. All right, now let's look at actually trying to calculate these. So as I said in the previous slide, the 8 is your base. So this tells us how many times we're going to write it. We are not doing 8 times 2. That is completely incorrect. This tells us how many times the multiplication will be repeated. 8 times 8 is 64, all right, not 16. Same thing here, 4 times 4 times 4. The 4 was our base. 3 is our exponent, telling us how many times to write that. 4 times 4 is 16, times another 4 is 64, not 12, okay? This one's really easy because, well, we're going to do exactly what they say. We write it once, that's it. So 38 to the 1st power is just simply 38. Now the last one, anything raised to the 0 power is just going to give you 1, not 0, but 1. Keep that in mind as you move forward. All right, let's compare these exponents or numbers using greater than, less than, or equal to. So you need to calculate these first. 8 to the 2nd power is 64. 4 to the 3rd power is not 12, but 4 times 4 times 4 ends up being 64 as well. So these ones are actually going to be equal to one another. All right, 9 to the 2nd power is not 18. It's 9 times 9, 81. Compared to 5 times 5, which is 25. So this number here is larger. 10 to the 2nd power. Remember, you can throw two zeros on the back, or you can do 10 times 10, and you'll still get the same thing of 100. 100 to the 1st power is 100 as well. So these are actually equal to one another. All right, now with this, remember, anything raised to the 0 power is 1. 9 to the 2nd power is not 18, but 81 again. So this will be less than. All right, so let's look at this chart about how family may grow exponentially, okay? So we have the number of people, parents. Well, typically you only have 2 parents, all right? So that's 2 to the 1st power. Grandparents, well, your mom has 2 parents, your dad has 2 parents, so then that brings it up to 4. Notice that the pattern is that this is now growing exponentially, okay? So if we follow this pattern, let's see if it works out correctly. All right, so we have 2 to the 3rd power, which is 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us 8. All right, so that does work. Then we have 2 to the 4th power. So that's 4 times 2 times 2 is 4, 8, 16. And then 2 to the 5th power, we end up getting 32. Now, another thing I want to note about this, which if you can read music, is you should take note of this. All right, no pun intended, because if you look at notes, you have a half note. That's 2 beats. All right, then you have quarter notes, your eighth notes, 16th notes, and 32nd notes, all of which get quicker with the tempo. All right, so we have, and I'll see if I can remember this from when I used to read music. You have your quarter note, or I'm sorry, this would be your quarter note. This is your half note. All right, and then you have an eighth note. You have your 16th note, and notice that the speed is just getting exponentially quicker, and then your 32nd note, and so on and so on. So you have a half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, 32nd note. All right, so you can make this relatable to music as well.